Is it better to burn out or fade away? Now, with the recent Jane's Addiction meltdown, seeing a 65-year-old man on stage, perhaps drinking too much, acting like that, struggling through the gig, taking ticket goers' hard-earned money, what should be a victory lap for the band. He's out there still trying to do rock star. Now look at all the rock stars we lost. Some of my heroes, some of them very, very young. And that is a very tragic thing. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain. So many lost their lives, that lifestyle. Elvis Presley, Brian Jones, Keith Moon, John Bonham. The last time I went out to Los Angeles, I went with much trepidation. My wife wanted to go. I think she wanted to, go shopping on Rodeo Drive and do all that kind of stuff. Man, I just had no interest in going there. And I started to realize that town and that business had chewed up and spit out so many of the people that I looked up to as a kid and wanted to be like. I wanted to be like Jimi Hendrix. I wanted to be like Eddie Van Halen. I wanted to be like Jim Morrison. And then I realized I'm so thankful that I'm still here, that I've got my family, that I've got my daughter, that I'm here able to tell you the tale and tell you these whispered truths. If fading away is being 65 years old and inebriated and assaulting your bandmates, then perhaps burning out would have been a better option. And I don't wish that lifestyle on anybody. I've been on the road. I've been deep in my cups. I've survived it. I've lived it. And now I'm here to tell the tale. But we're seeing something so new because we are children of the rock era. Rock and roll music. It seemingly burst onto the scene in the 50s. But it was probably bubbling up before that with blues and jazz and all of that music coming together and with combined with country music and bluegrass, and all of those things kind of created a melting pot, and then boom, rock and roll was created. And rock and roll, even in the 50s, it was a music of rebellion. And, but back then, it wasn't as hardcore as jazz. Jazz musicians were some of the first musicians to really take it over the line as far as partying goes. That's why you don't have Charlie Parker anymore and countless other jazz musicians who succumbed to their vices. And they were extreme vices that helped mask the pain that they had taking on a career playing jazz music. And that is a tough road, because it is not a music that is mass accepted by the mainstream. Most people don't understand it. You're playing above people's concepts and what they can hear. It's an acquired taste. And it's not a music of the common people. But it is a great music nonetheless. And those early jazz musicians, they had to deal with and endure a lot. So I don't blame them for the paths that they chose. Rock and roll started off with, ducktail and pompadour haircuts and, drinking Coca-Cola and, listening to loud music and dancing in a provocative way. But it gradually kept going, ramping up the rebellion, kept getting more and more in the unhealthy lifestyle. It was already unhealthy to have to travel from town to town the way they did and survive that. And from what I understand, way back then, Elvis was handed stimulants to be able to keep going from town to town and perform those shows. And now you see, all kinds of, over the decades. I mean, the 60s was when the drug scene exploded in this country, and musicians were experimenting, growing their hair, but there were casualties. Some of the greatest musicians of all time. I mean, Jimi Hendrix. Can you imagine the music, incredible music that he would have put out in the 70s? No doubt that he would have written some incredible songs. Now we've never gotten to hear them because he flamed out at 27 years old. And there's a huge list of musicians, the 27 Club they call it. It's an incredible loss. If you're a young musician listening to this, don't buy into that lifestyle. Don't do it. Find another way. Exercise. Take care of yourself. It's already going to be a challenging life if you choose to become a musician or a performer, whether it's a comedian or actor or guitarist or drummer or bass player. It's going to be a tough life. I can tell you that. I can tell you that because I've experienced it. When I see older musicians on stage struggling to hit the notes, struggling to play the parts, phoning it in, Motley Crue comes to mind. The vocals are just, it's not happening, man. You didn't take care of yourself. Yeah, it seemed like a good time in the 80s and doing whatever you were doing and having the time of your life. But, you're out there now and you're not singing. It doesn't sound good. Axl Rose is struggling now. And when they first started that reunion tour with Slash, I thought Axl sounded pretty good. Granted, you can't recreate your youth when you're pushing 60 years old. That's just facts. You gotta pace yourself. Every day that you're out there on tour, singing, playing, you're burning your engine. You're putting miles on your car. Now, there are guys my age, people I worked with, people that have had health problems and serious health scares, and they're just itching to get back out there. And I think, have you lost your mind? I get it if you need a payday. I understand that. I understand that you got family and you've got people you've got to take care of. But man, that road is a hard road. And you need to seriously think about it before you go out there. Or if you're a young guy and you're thinking about becoming a musician or a performer, you need to seriously think twice, because it is a hard life. And I don't think any of these guys, yeah, granted in the 80s, everybody had thought, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and thought, how much fun I'm having. And I don't need to listen to my mom, or I don't need to listen to my teacher. I need to just go out and have fun. Well, we're now seeing where that lifestyle leads you. Out on stage, dancing, performing way past your prime. Why? Maybe you're seeking adulation. Maybe you're seeking money. Maybe you crave attention. But it's sad. It's sad that you have to go out there and do that. And if you're gonna do it with dignity. Do it with a clear mind. Learn from your past mistakes. Don't go out there and try to pretend like you're 20 years old. It's embarrassing. Pull yourself together. Wake up and smell the coffee. Sober up. Carry yourself with some dignity. Now you put a bad example out into the world to all those people like me who bought into that rock and roll lifestyle. And I wised up way too late in life, but I'm still here. And I'm still able to tell my story. And I'm still able to get the message out because I wised up and I realized that's no way to live. Now, I don't know. I don't follow classical music. And, I do follow jazz a little bit. And I know some of those older jazz musicians, they continue to play late in life. And some of them may have done it with dignity. And some may have not. And some never made it to old age. But if you make it to old age, learn from your mistakes. Do better. Don't go out there and embarrass yourself trying to act like a 20-year-old kid. We all should be smarter than that. There is no need to go out there drunk, out of your mind, on drugs, butchering your past, destroying your legacy. That's what you're doing. When you're not on this earth anymore, your legacy you leave behind is now tarnished because there's this blip on the radar of you having an onstage altercation at the age of 65, or going out there on tour and sounding absolutely terrible, embarrassing yourself. The cool clothes and the trendy jeans and the spiked wristbands and the eyeliner and all the trappings and all the costume that people put on stage to put on a big show and put on a big spectacle. It starts to look ridiculous when you age. It starts to look like a clown suit. Now we all like to play dress up and put on some funny clothes from time to time, and I get it, man. People want to see a show. And if you're in Motley Crue, I get it. You got to dress the part. I get it. But the reality is you've created something which you can no longer replicate with dignity in your old age. There's nothing dignified about putting on an outfit that you can't squeeze into anymore and going out there and butchering your songs. Can't hit the notes, can't enunciate, can't breathe on stage. It's absolutely embarrassing. And if you've got enough money and you don't need to do it, then just stop. Just stop. There's nothing wrong with enjoying retirement. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can still tell your tale, and you can still write books, and you can still be creative. You can still write music. But being out there on the trail, beating it up, squeezing into that clown outfit, and trying to put on a show when you're no longer able to do it. Look at what happened to Elvis. He became a caricature. Yeah, he still had his voice till the end. But now when you say Elvis, people think, oh, bloated Elvis in his jumpsuit, dying on the toilet. And that's such a hard reality to face, being a fan. Thinking of that. Thinking of Elvis going out that way when he was so young and so vibrant and so full of life and so full of talent and promise. But life will chew you up and spit you out. And you better be prepared for it, because it's much better to age gracefully than to go out a complete joke.